Today, we're going to talk about the Alpha Foxtrot Romulus. This is a relatively new 2011. Specifically, this one is the 4.5-inch barrel with a compensator on it. You can get these in various barrel lengths, with or without a comp, or even with a ported barrel instead, if that's your thing. They sticker right around $1,600–1,700 bucks. We'll cut to the chase and just tell you, for that money, I actually think it's a pretty damn good deal. That said, people think that this is a competitor to the Staccato XC. It is not. While I have my issues with the XC, I believe it's just not worth the money. If you're spending that much, you might as well just go to an Atlas instead. It is a better built gun than a Staccato P. This Romulus is on par with the build quality of the Staccato P. It undercuts the Staccato P by $400 or $500 bucks. So I would again say it's very comparable to a P, just at a better price point. The overall fit and finish is actually really nice on this. In terms of the features, it's got a tri-tucked slide. I like that. It has nice serrations along the top rib of the slide. I really like that. The sights, the irons, I'm not going to use them because I have a red dot on here, but if you want to use the irons, it's got a blacked out rear and it's got a tritium front with a day-glow yellow ring around it. Let's see how well that picks up, but yeah, it's nice. It actually works well for what it is, and it's usable should you want to use that. But these come cut for the optic plate, and you can throw, well, on this one it's a Holosun 507 comp. This thing really shines with a red dot. It's really nice. The sights are actually much lower on this than on the Staccato P. I like that, the lower profile sights as opposed to suppressor height sights. So that's good. The serrations on the slide. So these are nice and grippy. They're not sharp, but you can get a nice grip on them, and they work really well for their intended purpose. Then again, you got a red dot. Use the red dot to rack your slide. As far as the looks, I actually think this is a very good looking gun. It's fairly simple. I think this gets slightly billboardy, but overall it's still clean. No major complaints. So I do like that. So from the factory, this comes with their trigger. I have changed it out to the Atlas trigger. They use Gephardt. I like those better. The factory trigger had a little bit too much slop vertically, meaning you could move this vertically. And I just didn't like that as much. I also really like this flat face aluminum trigger. I'm used to them. I mean, I've got it installed on my Staccato P as well. And my Atlas and all my other 2011s. Anyway, I really like their triggers, so I just swapped it out. I will say it did require a little bit of fitting, some filing on the trigger bow, no modifications to the frame. That's par for the course for any 1911 or 2011. Changing it out, I probably lightened the trigger by, grams, barely lightened it, if anything. And that's only because I got rid of some of the binding that would occur due to that excessive play, vertical play. So for all intents and purposes, the trigger weight is not changed. It's just a trigger face. That said, the trigger on this is actually pretty nice. Yeah, it's very short, very minimal take-up, although obviously that's adjustable. Very short, very clean, and a nice clean reset. I want to say this is about a 3.5-ish pound, 3 to 4 pound trigger. It's not as light as my Titan, which I don't want a light trigger on this gun. That's a gaming gun, different purpose. I think this trigger is very appropriately weighted and it's very nice. I do like it. The fit of the frame to the slide is actually, it's on par with the Staccato P. If you grab this and twist it, you can feel just the slightest bit of play. It's no big deal. This is tolerances. Theoretically, it's going to allow it to be a little bit more reliable under dirty conditions. You can shoot it longer in between cleanings, or use it out in the desert with the sand and dirt or whatever, a little with fewer problems than a tighter fit gun. So it's exactly what one would expect for a duty type gun in terms of fit and finish. The actual finish on this is a DLC. Now this is a matte finish. I know some of the earlier guns came with a gloss finish, and I'm kind of glad that this is matte. I really like the way this looks. It turns really good. The one gripe that I have is the grip. So they do their own grip. Well, maybe someone else makes it for them, I don't know, but there's an Alpha Foxtrot branding right in the middle. This is a polymer grip. It's fine, but it is not grippy. Your hands will slip on this. The checkering on the front and the back is all fine. It's right here on the side that I don't really like. I just don't have a lot of grip on there. If I grab my Staccato P, this has the tree bark grip, I actually have good grip on there. So one downside, like I said, grip texture. Maybe you could get it stippled, I don't know, or these grips are easy enough to change out, but that is something to note. It is not a grippy grip. This is really... I would have done something else. Let's put it that way. As far as the performance of the gun, I shot it back to back with my Staccato P, and while I had tighter groupings with the P, it was not noticeably, or not massively different. They were very similar. And I do think that some of that difference would be down to how I perceive the dots on my Holosun versus the dot on my Trijicon RMR. I have astigmatism, so red dots are never crisp. They're never a dot. It's usually a slash or some form of a blob. They do look different to me. They aren't just simple dots. So my grouping could come down to that. I'm not going to say that it's a difference in the gun, just something that I had noticed and could well be attributed to difference in equipment on the guns. As far as the comp itself, you're shooting 9mm. You don't really need a comp. Yeah, it does something. It does reduce the muzzle rise, so when you shoot, obviously the muzzle's going to come up and come back down. The return to zero is dictated by your grip and your springing. Yeah, the comp helps keep that muzzle down, but it's not necessary. It's fun, it's fine, but I don't really care one way or the other on a 9mm. The only thing I really noticed, I noticed the additional noise from the comp more than the reduced muzzle rise, if that makes sense. So, yeah, the comp helps, but I personally don't see it as a must-have or anything like that. For those of you who want to argue that it helps with return to zero, work on your grip. That's where your return to zero comes from. Again, this just reduces the amount of muzzle rise, how much that comes up. That's all that's doing. Return to 0 is a function of your grip. That's how that works, regardless. As far as presentation, everything else, it's standard 2011. It fits in the hand real well. I actually like these controls. The safety's nice. It's ambi safety, the way it should be. The slide release is an extended slide release. Let's see if you can see this. So this actually extends out quite a bit more from the frame than a staccato P, a standard slide release. And so what that allows is easier manipulation of that without breaking your grip. I can do that one-handed on the P, it's just much easier here. The downside is you may have an issue fitting into your existing holsters with this. Being a 2011, most 2011 holsters are relatively universal. So for most of my 2011s, I just use a staccato P holster. I did check one of them with the Romulus. It doesn't fit because I have the wrong light, but I took that off, and then it gets stuck at this extended slide release. So the way you fix that is you reheat and reform the holster, or you clearance it with a file. But be aware that extended slide release could make finding the proper holster a little difficult, or just require you to modify what you have. As far as anything else on this gun, I'm really happy about it. I think it's a little bit oversprung on that recoil spring, but it's again on par with the staccato P. It's not as smooth as, again, the XC or the Atlas, for example. If you pull the slide down, you can actually still feel the disconnector. And it's no different than the staccato P. I can still feel that right there too. I will say that the staccato P slide is a little bit smoother. I'm not going to say tighter, but smoother. Part of that is I've got far more rounds into this P. This was, one of the first ones that they did when they turned from STI to staccato. So it's slightly smoother, but overall it's still about the same in terms of actual tightness of the frame. But that's how that one works. The other item to be aware of is that the guide rod, it does require an Allen key to remove it, so be aware of that. And other than that, it works pretty well. It's been a pretty good gun. I do like it. I don't have a whole hell of a lot of rounds, maybe 500 through it. As I said, I like it. It's a staccato P competitor, and for 500 bucks less, you really ought to look at these. They make a nice setup. Anyway, hope you found that somewhat useful. We'll do this again another day.